Hello everyone, today we are going to discuss our scientific papers. But first, let us introduce ourselves. I'm Shalya Rayhan Nugrahana, and here are my other friends, Raden Shavira Zahra Hainidar, and Muhammad Azka Mazaya. And our scientific paper is called Influence in McDonald's Business Strategy. First of all, the purpose of writing this scientific paper is first, knowing the comparison of Singapore's culture with McDonald's organizational culture. Second, knowing McDonald's company strategy to adapt to Singaporean culture. And the last, proving that every country with a different culture needs to be treated differently. There's also a problem formulation in the scientific papers, which is first, comparison of Singapore's culture with McDonald's organizational culture. Second, McDonald's strategy in adapting Singapore's culture. And the last, the treatment of an organization to different countries. And here's the background of our scientific papers. McDonald's restaurant was first founded in 1948 by two brothers, Richard and Maurice McDonald, in California, United States. At first, McDonald's was a restaurant that only served a few menus at affordable prices. At that time, McDonald's itself was unique in that it used a speedy service system, which allowed customers to get their food quickly. Seeing McDonald's continue to grow, finally, in 1955, McDonald's officially joined the franchise program and opened its first franchise in Illinois, United States. And in the same year, founded McDonald's Corporation. McDonald's Corporation has continued to grow until recently and has been claimed to be the world's largest fast food restaurant franchise. A strategy is an overall approach that deals with implementing ideas, planning, and executing an activity within a certain period of time. The strategy experiences a cultural influence because it is through that culture that the company creates its own understanding and interpretation of the world. When this world presents any problem or change, culture designs a strategic response to the problem. With the cultural difference between McDonald's Corporation and the culture in Singapore, when they open their franchise in Singapore, they need the right cultural strategy to adapt to Singapore. It should be underlined that what needs to be adapted is McDonald's Corporation to Singapore culture, not the other way around. To find out the cultural strategy to adopted by McDonald's, our group analyzed several internal factors such as McDonald's cultural model strategy to external factors such as the influence of national culture and company strategy.
Hello, my name is Azka, and now in this discussion time, we will discuss about four concerns. The first concern is the character of Singapore. Multiculturalism is live in Singapore. The cultural and ethnic diversity in Singapore does not prevent the country from living in harmony. The ethnic groups in Singapore are Chinese, Malays, Indian, Indonesian, and many more. The most popular working behavior in Singapore is the discipline of the citizens who live in it. Due to the law application to pay fines for violation commit, Singapore is clean and safe from criminal behavior. With a population of 5,800,000 people in 2021, this is directly proportional to the very high mobility of the population that it that in 2020 Singapore only have 3,000 of unemployed peoples. The second concern is the McDonald culture that consists of three elements. The first element is MCACC culture, which itself stands for accountable, care, and credible. The second is the AVP element, where the work environment becomes comfortable and respect each other. And the last element is brand promise, where McDonald's always provide clean, friendly, reliable, quality, and affordable products and services. The third concern is the McDonald's strategy in order to adapt with Singapore's culture that divided into two perspectives, internal and external factors. In internal factors, McDonald's used a controlling model in which the responsible department sets strategic plans and present them to the top of the management or the board for their consideration. Here, McDonald's collect data in the form of quantitative and objective information in order to make a decision. And the external factor is the MCACC and brand promise culture that helps McDonald's to build a credibility in Singapore. Other than that, due to the high mobility in Singapore, McDonald's provides a drive-through system in several of its restaurants. Now, McDonald's has managed to open 120 brands throughout Singapore with a total customer of nearly 1.2 million people a week. The last concern is McDonald's strategy in Indonesia to prove that every country with a different culture requires a different organization strategy. McDonald's strategy for Indonesia and Singapore is different, even compared by the other countries. For the example is the strategy from McDonald's, which influenced by environmental aspect. McDonald's Singapore currently provides a menu with pork option. This is happened because the majority of Singapore's population are non-Muslim. Unlike Indonesia, where the most people are Muslim, if McDonald's still provides a menu with pork choice, it will cause a criticism from the public. This is a difference from the culture adopted by the people. As a global business, McDonald's needs to pay attention to cultural matters because the strategies set are not the same in every country.
Hello, my name is Shavira. Now I will tell you about the conclusion and the suggestion from this presentation. Firstly, I will explain the conclusion. The study concludes that the relationship between corporate culture and strategy is very close to the data obtained. Strategy experience cultural influence because it is true that culture that a company can understand itself and an interpretation of the world. However, it should be noted that the strategy must adapt to the existing culture in the country concerned so that it cannot generalize business strategy across countries. Because of this element, McDonald's has a different strategy in each country. For example, it can be seen from the environmental aspect of McDonald's Indonesia and McDonald's Singapore strategy. McDonald's Singapore provides a menu with a choice of pork because the majority of Singaporeans are non-Muslim. In contrast, for McDonald's Indonesia, the company only provides halal menus because more religions in Indonesia are Muslim. However, McDonald's itself has an internal work culture that must be implemented in each country, namely accountable, care, credible, where each employee is appreciated for his work result and given constructive feedback, so that employees can continue to develop their potential. Also, McDonald's implements a brand promise to provide a clean restaurant environment, strive to be a trusted restaurant and have a quality menu at affordable prices, and employees who must always be friendly to all its customers. Secondly, I will explain the suggestion. Based on what has been explained above about the influence of culture in McDonald's business strategy, it is recommended that if you want to start a business in a country, it would be better to study and adapt to its culture because each country's culture is different and cannot be generalized, which affect the strategy that will be chosen and implemented by the company because the slightest cultural difference contained therein will affect the course of our business strategy that we will carry out. That's all from our group. Thank you for your attention.